right now as the bans continue to come through. And looks like pretty conventional stuff. NIP decided not to change anything up. They can still look to prioritize the Thresh. Worked very nicely for Sprattel. They were able to find a lot of successful picks early on in the game. And I feel like there's no real reason for them to shift from that.
Well, neither team has changed their Phase 1 bans. Shen, Rakan, Zac for NIP, Elise, Talia, Caitlyn for the Unicorns of Love. Sprattel's Thresh was pretty good in Game 1. He had lanterns where they needed, had death sentences on the relevant targets. And while it wasn't necessarily the reason they won, it definitely allowed them to set up and continue playing in much the same way. Galio Twitch was Phase 1. I'm expecting Blitzcrank to be one of the first big changes. NIP could just lock in the Rek'Sai Jhin again. I mean, it worked pretty well.
I also feel that this Galio is more likely to go top lane than mid. Just a hunch. We'll see it as the draft progresses, but very likely that we'll see another Jhin come out from HeaQ. It was one of his more popular picks back in spring, and he's continuing to bring it out here once again in summer.
All right, so what does Hylissang lock in now? Obviously, the Blitz is a hover. Okay, are we just saying go again? Damn. It wasn't the draft?
I feel like that's what they're saying right now. I can't get behind this Blitzcrank pick. I feel like that it just doesn't make sense, because there's a lot of great things that it does offer, like in terms of pick potential. You have low mobility AD carry in the form of Jhin. We did see Exileh get a few good picks onto HeaQ in Game 1, and sure, it definitely worked well, and we saw a lot of early roams from Hylissang too, but like aside from that, I feel like that the pick itself didn't offer a huge amount of value, especially when ninjas were sieging and they were looking for picks themselves.
Vedius, do you know what one of the examples of insanity is? Doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting the result to be different every time. Do you think picking the same draft is insanity for Unicorns of Love?
So we saw G2 do this exact same thing against Fnatic in the semifinals of Spring Split in 2017, and in Game 2, G2 were able to make it work. However, perhaps Unicorns of Love are saying, look, we failed how we played the early game, we didn't respect Shook enough. I'm gonna guess that the next pick is gonna be a Corki.
I would love it. I love casting the same team composition 2 games in a row.
Do you?
Yes! You get to judge every single decision that they make, every single play. The last lock-in was a rumble for the Unicorn.
Ah, the Kassadin! Yes!
The bait and switch!
Yes,
the
right.
Bait and
so,
switch.
my hunch paid off. The Galio was top. We talked about this Game 1 where I said I'd actually quite like a Kassadin in this matchup. I think it's really good for the Kassadin into Corki. This is what I like, Trevor, because this is a fun mid-lane matchup for me. And I had a great conversation with Defici about this, and one day we will have this 1v1 too, so I can dumpster his Corki. So a lot to talk about when we get into game.
All right, we'll find out. Kassadin was the pivot. It is the pickup with that magic shield, and the Q does so well against the autos from Corki. And more importantly, Kassadin as a champion, you cannot, or you should not, play forward. Something that Exileh has been very guilty of in the past. How drastically different will this game now play out? Because you've still got losing lanes, haven't you?
The difference is that Rumble was one of the core damage dealers on the side of the Unicorns of Love. So once he got camped and fell behind, you now lose one of the major damage sources, and you're looking at Samux to be the backup. You're looking at him to try and make up for the lack of damage that you lost in your top lane. Now that you have a tank up there, it means that the focus needs to be on mid for Shook. He needs to try and get this Kassadin behind early on, because it is exceptionally difficult for a Corki to shut down a Kassadin during the laning phase.
Now we'll see whether or not Nagne and Shook can shut down Exileh. Going into the game, 60% of the fans were in favor of UOL. It's less than I was expecting. The fans here in Berlin, definitely a higher percentage. As the Love Hurts crew are out in a force, the Unicorns of Love need to take 2 in a row to defeat the Ninjas in Pyjamas. And for NIP, they need 1 win to pick up their first series victory in summer. Oh, I love the energy in the house today, Vedius. But will Berlin be heartbroken? Will the Love Hurts crew be silenced? That's what we're gonna find out as I'm trying to taunt them. I shouldn't, they outnumber me a lot right now.
So, QuickShot, I feel like there's a matchup that I'd really like to talk about.
Oh, Renekton versus Galio.
Oh, come on, QuickShot. Okay. Let's talk about the mid-lane matchup.
Tell me your story of Corki versus Kassadin.
So I picked Corki in a solo queue game into the Kassadin thinking this should be fine. This should be an easy 1v1 matchup. However, I was unfortunately surprised by the fact that 80% of your basic attack damage gets converted into magic damage. And the thing about Kassadin is when you're playing him in the laning phase, usually you only want to use your Q onto the enemy champion. You don't want to use it to farm. So every time Corki tries to harass you, you just throw out the Q, and all of his damage is mitigated because it all gets absorbed by the spell shield, which means that during the early laning phase, it's surprisingly easy for the Kassadin to hold his own. And I like the fact that he has gone for the Dorian shield. I feel like that Nagne may have wanted a little bit more sustain, but notice here, you'll see the Dark Seal being picked up for Exileh as well, so he has a little bit more AP. The Q will pack a little bit more of a punch, and I am expecting him to be running the Deathfire Grasp as well, to just add to his harassment.
All right, early Rocket Crab. Sprattel turns around with a flay, though. In actual fact, Samux is the one that comes off way worse for wear.
Yep. They tried to hook Sprattel to get a bit of early harass down. Ended up not as fortunate as they would have liked. Also, the fact that Samux ended up eating a crit probably is not what he wanted at the very start of the laning phase, but things going all right as Xerxe. Wow.
Yeah, big trade from the Winds of War on that passive. Vizicsacsi's only got 150 HP to burn through. Meat comes out. There's a little bit of sustain back to Prophet with that Doran shield and potion ticking through. The Prophet's sustain now is going to be on his Q, and his shield decides he wants to fight a little bit. Too many ranged minions to deal with. And here's some stats from game one.
Yeah, so you can see the jungle proximity invested from both junglers. The important thing to note here is the fact that Xerxe actually had more jungle attention than Prophet did, but it resulted in more kills for Nagne as a gank happens.
I think this is a dead Exile. Exhaust, Frost Bomb, First Blood, Shook!
And this is exactly what I wanted to see from NIP. This is such a difficult matchup for the Corki. You had to shut it down early on, and it's the only real time to do it. First Blood again goes in favor of NIP.
Do you believe in magic? That's what NIP want to know, because the Unicorns might be running out of it. Shook punished the top lane Rumble in game one. He's punished the mid lane Kassadin, and now a flashless Exile is an even juicier target for a peak gank.
I love this focus from Shook. The fact that game one, he knows he has to snowball the Renekton and shut down the Rumble. And in game two, he's like, I have to get this Corki ahead in the early game. I have to get him some kind of an advantage because he's going to struggle in this 1v1. And it's a Kassadin. The more you shut him down, the more you delay his itemization, the better, because he's going to want to go for things like the Rod of Ages. He's want to get his Zhonya's after that. And the longer you make him wait for that, the harder he is going to find having an impact in this game. So, great investment from Shook. He's already back in the mid lane.
Now, this Shook appears only once so often.
Once so often?
Once so often. I was trying to pick a not so offensive time frame. I was going to go say once in a millennia, but that's not fair. Because do you remember what Shook did with Alliance at Worlds?
Ooh, that was
do you remember
ago.
The one perfect game?
I do.
And then do you remember the many non-perfect games?
No, I don't.
Right?
Trevor, no, I don't.
Shook is showing up today, and when he shows up, he can be phenomenal. The frustration is he doesn't hit this level frequently enough.
No, he doesn't.
And that's one of the concerns. Let's see what Shook can do with the rest of this game, because if he continues to play as well as he has done already, the Ninjas in Pyjamas will win their first series of Summer.
And that would be great confidence boost for NIP. They're yet to win a series. Before game one, they were yet to win a game. And being able to just get on the board in the standings is going to be a big confidence boost, especially with so much of the community saying that this team is just going to be relegated and they're just going to be very similar to Origin. But the fact is that all of our teams are so much more competitive as a flash comes in from Xerxe.
All right, Winds of War comes out. Prophet's going to get taunted up, but he's under the tower. Vizicsacsi takes a shot.
He can kill him.
Kha'Zix with flash. Prophet wins a 1v1.
Got him in.
Not over yet. Sprattel needs to find the death sentence. Flay comes out, not just yet. Knock up and death sentence. Exile's down. Now.
NIP, 3 kills, 5.5 minutes into the game, are getting the early lead once more.
I've seen this movie, and it ends with the Ninja's victory.
Oh, man. The Unicorns of Love, they drafted a very similar composition to what they had in game 1. They said, you know what, our execution was bad, we just needed to make a change up in the middle lane. But now, Prophet is winning 1v1 alone. This is a poor miscalculation from Chuck.
And this is another typical Vizicsacsi mistake. How many times has he gone over-eager, overcommitted, and been punished?
But to be fair, like, the subtle thing there was the fact that the minion block made him take an awkward path, so he couldn't get as close and get that final tick of the Winds of War off as well. So I feel like the math he did in his head was accurate, the execution just wasn't quite there. And Sprattel, he made the roam up top because his AD carry had already gone back to base. There's no flash in the middle lane. Shook makes the repeat appearance, and they get another kill down onto Exileh. No TP, 0-2. Has to go for an early double Dark Seal. And oh, this is beautiful. The early Hex Drinker rush from Nagne as well. It will delay his Stream Force spike, but it's perfect. And there's a no flash top laner about to die.
Oh, the Unicorns of Love are getting all shook, knocked up. Vizicsacsi gets interrupted. The Justice Punch comes backwards, and it's another for Shook. Come on, that was a good line.
That was a great line. That was a great line.
All right, Exileh's going to try to turn this one around. There's support coming from behind. Xerxe's about to join the fray. Comes out from the void, silences.
Exhaust.
Nagne under the tower. Xerxe's going down, and Nagne trades 1-for-1.
That's the best case scenario for Nagne right there. They will alleviate some of the pressure for Exileh, but the fact is he still dies, and Prophet, the alligator's lying in wait.
Okay, Rift Orc's available for Exileh. He's got about 50% mana. This is Jaws music, but
it is, but it's a crocodile. They're going, they're going.
Exileh's coming in from behind. Slice comes out, stun goes down. Shook's looking for the knocker.
Ulti.
He's got an ulti Void Rush for the third.
NIP, 6 kills to 1. Stat team, get to us quick, the info. We need to know how many kills NIP had in game 1 because they are on a tear right now. Ripping through the lineup of UOL, building themselves a massive early gold lead. And this is a great mobility that Kassadin does have against the Corki. You can see how effectively he is trading against him. Nagne is forced to push up against his lane just to get a bit of farm down. And then Xerxe comes in for the cleanup. He doesn't respect the exhaust though. And once he's committed, he realizes that he has to just give up his life rather than give away the kill. I feel maybe a little bit greedy, but they do shut him down a little bit.
They did indeed. Ninjas in Pyjamas have a 2,000 gold lead. 5 kills in the advantage. And we haven't even hit 10 minutes.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty damn good.
But I feel like, you know, it's not quite the expression, but I always think of mine, fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice, shame on you.
We've used that a few times already.
Because they picked the same draft. Like, the only difference is
that means it's not the same, okay? Yeah. Vedius, the definition of the same draft implies the same 10
But so many
champions.
of the picks are the same. And let's go back as a gang is happening top.
All right, Prophet's going to go down here. Very good rocket grab from Hilly. Ignite may have been the final tick. Unicorns on the board. And they may be able to get tower first blood as well. 3-man stack on the tower already.
Okay, so we're seeing a change now from the Unicorns of Love. They decided that not much was going to happen if they continued bot. Sprattel was going to be given way too much freedom to roam around the map. So let's just swap, get a kill onto Prophet, who has no flash, and let's just try and rush down that tower so we can get a bit of extra gold in our pockets. Smart move from the Unicorns of Love will open up the map a little bit more, give them the freedom to try and utilize this Galio ulti around the map.
Very, very close there. Tower first blood picked up by Unicorns of Love means they're only 1,300 gold down. And keeping my eyes on the lane shenanigans. Nagne goes defensive. He gets tagged up by Exileh. Do you remember last week, Vedius, you put this little video on Twitter, you're asking whether or not UOL could beat G2.
You mean?
You asked a very wise turtle.
I did.
What would happen in the results? And the turtle said, if Exileh stops feeding, they can win. Now, did you know this is the 20th time this split Exileh has died alone, isolated.
To be fair...
Did you know that he has died 4 times alone this series already?
Okay, but to be fair to the guy, he got camped this game. Oh. 2 jungle ganks very early on, a support even game mid as well. I cannot blame him for that.
I'm merely reporting the stats.
That's fair, but bear in mind there's always context. Now, Unicorns of Love, they want to try and fight around this Rift Tower. I completely agree with you. Exileh has been one of the underperformers. Let's see if he can make up for it in this fight.
Let's find out in a moment or two. No, he can't because he's dead. HeaQ just took him out. This one wasn't isolated, though, because he's got a few teammates around. And it will gift Harriet the Herald to the Ninjas in Pyjamas second game. Oh!
You can't keep him waiting, Trev.
No,
you can't keep him waiting. You've got to keep him charmed.
Yes.
She's fickle.
Yes. Very impatient. You need to treat the lady right. All right, Prophet is under threat here. Teleport coming down. Vizicsacsi is going to finish it up. The Durand will taunt him under the tower. Samux is the one that's tagged. Oh. He's stunned. Prophet's looking for the kill. He gets it.
Oh my God,
Prophet's not done yet. Now Xerxe is in trouble. Winds of War comes out. Prophet's caught between a rock and a hard place. Vizicsacsi escapes with his life. It's not done yet. Harriet is going to unleash on the mid tower.
Oh my word, Prophet, you played that beautifully. Getting a 1v4 and still coming out with a kill. This means that NIP can continue the siege on the mid lane. Exileh doesn't have the wave clear. NIP taking full control of the map.
The team Unicorns in Love had been praised one of, if not the best team in Europe for a few weeks. Debatable. And they are about to lose to a 0-12.
Now,
correction, 1-12 Ninjas in Pyjamas.
There's still a lot of the game left to go, but if UOL keep trying to force plays like this, it is going to end in disaster for them. They were not planning on having Samux get tower aggro, but I believe it was because of the poison. I believe that is what drew the aggro. It meant that Xerxe couldn't hit him before Samux actually got underneath the tower. And because of that focus, Samux ended up losing his life. The ulti ended up getting burned from Xerxe as well. Xerxe had to come all the way down. I mean, he was already there, but he ended up getting tower aggro too, so he almost lost his life as well. Like, that was messy.
Messy indeed, and it means Ninjas in Pyjamas come out on top. As far as towers are concerned, 3 towers to 2. They've got 8 kills to 3. And the gold lead is not as significant, okay? HeaQ's gonna try catch the lantern. He's silenced, will get out alive. Samux tried to unleash. But look at the minimap really quickly. A lot of vision for NIP around UOL's top quadrant. And Unicorns, they're gonna get spotted. A lot of information here for NIP to work with and try and push this 3,000 gold lead a little further. They've got a CS advantage in top and in middle. And they're now gonna fend off UOL in the jungle.
NIP, they will end up losing their Raptors, but we're now seeing a bit of a UOL classic. Group up mid, try and force some stuff to happen. This is allowing Unicorns of Love to invade pretty heavily into the bottom side of the jungle, steal away the red buff, so UOL, they're at least still trying. Like, you can never count the Unicorns of Love down. Even though they're at a 3 gold deficit, their win condition is still very evident with the Twitch and with the Kassadin. They've always got that late game threat.
Yeah, I mean, minus 3,000 gold at 13 minutes, still higher than the average. Average lead at that time was 1,400 gold. Deficio figured out yesterday on broadcast.
I heard.
Just reminding you, you know, keep that meme alive for a little while longer. Unicorns of Love were down 4,200 gold at 15 minutes in game 1. And what was more impressive to me was not the fact that UOL had been beaten that handily, was that NIP did not concede it. They continued to push, they continued to play the map, they set up around Baron well, played very, very well in the mid game, and they have to do the same if they want to close this game.
And that's the big thing, because NIP are playing very well. Like, Unicorns of Love individually, maybe they're making a few mistakes here, like Xerxe dying in the 1v1. You can see what the intentions were. The plan was to get the solo kill onto Prophet. The execution was slightly off. But aside from that, like, it is NIP finding these advantages. As a Kassadin, it is very hard to deal with getting camped, especially when the support roams up as well. So I love the way in which they're playing, and they're continuing it right now.
Hylissang's caught out. He's going to flash away. Rocket Crab doesn't find a target, and the 3rd and 4th shots are dodged. It did cost Hylissang his flash, so at least that super speed engage with the overdrive will be limited somewhat. And there is something to be said for Unicorns team comp with a Kassadin and a Twitch and a Mountain Drake.
Yeah.
If NIP make any mistakes, it's going to be much more punishing. You can't run away from a Kassadin.
The problem is that Kassadin only just got that Rod of Ages, 2 stacks. of 15 minutes means that it is going to be heavily delayed before it really adds a lot of value for Exileh. And in that meantime, Nagne is well on his way to completing that Trinity Force. Very valuable spike. It gives you a lot of additional burst damage very early on into the game. The components, maybe not that strong, but once you complete it, the added power that it gains, especially against the Kassadin, is absolutely huge. And one of the big things that slowed NIP down last game was the fact that there was a lot of wave clear from the Galio and the Rumble. Kassadin is not known for his wave clear, which means NIP should be able to speed up their tower-taking process.
All right, Shook's got flash available, has tagged Samux. Not going to fire the Void Rush. And you mentioned the delays for NIP. I also felt like they were waiting for those item spikes.
That's very true,
especially getting close to the 2 items. The fact that Nagne's Trinity Force has been delayed, which you've mentioned and talked about. At the very least, his Hex Drinker will help out somewhat against Chachi and Exileh as the game plays out, but still waiting to finish that Triforce.
And seeing as we're on the topic of itemization, I want to touch briefly on this Frozen Heart. Not only is it a great item for Vizicsacsi, but also because you have 2 AD carries, even though Nagne does magic damage, the attack speed reduction that you get from it is still going to be super valuable and will contribute a lot. And the extra mana and cooldown reduction that you get just makes it a good all-round pick against this comp and also for the Galio.
Yeah, it'll 4 sets of Ninja Tabai.
Yeah, a lot of armor.
Unicorns of Love are borrowing the Pyjamas wardrobe, apparently. As NIP still maintain their lead. Still not the 5,000 gold that they had from game 1. Scrying Bloom is popped.
I love the way you said that. Not quite the 5,000 gold. As a pick happens now.
All right, Hylissang, remember, no flash because he was caught earlier. Hero's entrance buys enough time. Shook is in so much trouble. Void Rush not going to save his life. And Unicorns get their 4th kill.
So a little overzealous there from NIP. They wanted to try and punish Hylissang after his flash was down, but you also grouped up against a 4-man UOL, and they were more than happy to go for it as another engage happens in mid.
All right, curtain call comes out. Hilly slowed down, tagged, burst, chunked, and killed. Sprattel pulls himself to the corpse of Hylissang. And now all of a sudden, NIP 4 on a potential 4 pushing. Look at Exileh, he's in the top lane. He's 1.5 miles away. Teleport could be channeled. It is coming into the mid lane. Vizicacsi's going in with a Duran, gets a 3-man taunt. Lantern is going to at least get Prophet out to safety, and Xerxe gets chunked down before Exileh gets a kill. Prophet goes under the tower, and Xerxe's able to escape. Now Prophet's down. That's a double for Exileh, and Unicorns are right back in it.
Massive team fight win for the Unicorns of Love. The flanking in from Exileh means that he picks himself up a double kill and is well on his way back into the game. Yes, he fell short earlier on, but we talked a lot about the win condition for Unicorns. The late game scaling of Kassadin and Twitch means that every time you try to force a fight and it goes awry, Unicorns very quickly climb back into the game.
Absolutely quickly. Here's the replay. Look at the minimap as Exileh's 1 mile away.
Yeah, so
here's the replay. Look at the minimap as Exileh's 1 mile away.
Yeah, so they feel that this is a pretty easy pick, but they don't respect the damage reduction coming out from the Galio. And Shook uses the ult here to try and get the damage reduction down, and then immediately flashes onto the Lantern, but a very quick response from Xerxe means that he ends up getting the kill. Now, is this a bad play from Hylissang, overstaying without flash and already using his W, or is it a good ulti? I'll leave that up to you guys to decide, but it was still a pick ends up coming out. And I feel like this is a big mistake here because the Lantern gets used by Prophet, which means that HeaQ has to flash and is stuck between like multiple members of the Unicorns of Love. And when it's a 5 versus 4 like this, and Exileh is not the target, he's free to just get all the stacks off on his E. He has a lot of slow, he has a lot of CC, he has the ultimate as well. Like, there's a lot of ways for him to just chase down opponents. And now that he's 2, 4, and 1, he's a lot more relevant in this game.
I used a reference about 10 minutes ago where I said, I've seen this movie before. And that was when NIP had 6 kills to 1 and like a 3,000 gold lead. Yep. And I said that, you know, NIP would win. NIP would win. Now, as the movie's played out, it's a sequel, of course. I didn't expect the twist. And the twist is Exileh getting a double kill on Kassadin.
Yep.
Because every other time I've seen Kassadin get a double kill, I get wrecked. So is that what's going to happen for UOL, wrecking NIP?
It could be, because Exileh's building towards the...
Lich Bane?
That's the word I'm looking for. The Lich Bane is a second item. And what that means is that his focus will be on the side lane. I remember the issue that the UOL had in game 1 was that no one could really deal with Nagne off on a side lane. So by going for the Lich Bane, this means that Exileh can more than happily handle the Corki because it gives him much more dueling power, and we talked a lot about how he can mitigate a lot of the early magic damage from Corki as well. His teamfight value will be weaker as a hook does land.
Really good play. Hylissang, by the way, did not move. Didn't want to activate the Tremor Sense. Shook is starting to burn down. Exileh gets burst by a couple of rockets, but Unicorns of Love set their sights on the third outer turret. Frost Bomb comes out from Nagne, and he keeps firing off the barrage of missiles to wave clear. Vizicsacsi tanks up the tower. Very good play from UOL. Route onto Samux, does not matter. Prophet did not teleport, and he's shoving bottom.
Yeah, I like the pick there from the Unicorns of Love, controlling vision in the river and punishing NIP as they tried to close it out by themselves. Prophet now, he pushed in bot. NIP had set up the wave up top, so Unicorns of Love, they're just going to go catch all this farm. This is fine because they're all about scaling. They need these item spikes before they're more confident, and taking down that tower will mean that the gold cap is closing.
Samux, I think his recall was interrupted there, if I read that correctly. Curtain Call comes out, tags him with a fourth and final shot. Rocket grab from Hilly, not the most effective. Onto the Crocodile. Flay comes out, death sentence as well. Hero's entrance, not going to be enough to save Hilly's life. Vizicsacsi's on the front line, gets the taunt onto Shook. They've traded support for jungler. Prophet slices in, dices out, runs for his life as he's silenced. Exileh and UOL happy with a 1-for-1.
Support for jungler means that things will be difficult for NIP to try and force anything like the Baron, set up proper vision. And Exileh, he continues to get gold. Getting himself another assist in there, you can see his damage in fights is not as weak as it was earlier on. Like, he is the big point that you have to keep your eyes on as the game progresses. And NIP, that in game one, I feel like they were very slow, they were very reserved, steadily building up a goldie, waiting for their item spikes. Right now, they seem a little more keen to try and force things to happen, and they see that the Galio is bottom lane, they don't have vision on the Kassadin, so they try to get the pick down onto Samux. And at this point, you're thinking, oh, this is looking pretty good. They can catch Hylissang once again. He's just sitting on the front line, super squishy support. But then a massive knock-up onto Shook means that he is CC'd for such a long time. It's very easy for the other Unicorns of Love members to get the collapse down and shut down the jungler from NIP.
All right, Unicorns definitely in this game. The 2,000 gold lead does not matter. 2 item spikes being completed across the board. Titanic Hydra and Cleaver for Prophet, matched by the Spirit Visage and Frozen Heart. Lichbane completed for Exileh. Samux has got his hands on the Hurricane and Blade of the Rune King. So now you have to question, how good is NIP's late game when the game is even? And that's what we're going to evaluate.
Well, I feel like that late game is still very, very strong, especially when you're going for such a heavy crit build with the Jhin. It offers him a lot more team fight value, because every time UOL get within range, which a Kassadin is very likely to do, those crits will hit him quite hard in the face, especially with his severe lack of armor. I'd love to see a Zhonya's coming up next for Exileh. It will delay his Void Staff. So for NIP, they need to be stacking this magic resistance, which is always a difficult thing, especially when Samux has now completed the Rune and Hurricane.
Yes. Stack MR, so Kassadin doesn't kill you, or stack armor, so Xerxe and Samux don't kill you.
Yep.
And you can only pick one, really.
Well, you will have to do the same thing, right? Because Nagne, he has completed the Trinity Force at last, Rapid Fire Cannon is done, and so he will be doing a huge amount of magic damage. He's already got himself a fair amount of early pen. So you always have to respect the amount of poke and harassment that Nagne can throw on this Corki.
And at this stage of the game, Vedius, vision is very important. Unicorns of Love open up onto HeaQ. They've got a fair few wards inside the left-hand quadrant.
So many control wards in the inventory. This is beautiful. I can hear Deficio at home right now, just getting so excited with glee of all the vision that's available for both teams.
Yeah, there's a song from Lonely Island that makes me think of what he's doing at the moment, and Unicorns of Love need to try and combat, what's that, 2, 3, 4, it's about 10 control wards in the NIP jungle. Exileh gets a good opening trade before being burst down. Remember, Nagne still got that Hex Drinker. 1, 2, 3, and 4. That was the 4th shot, in fact. I missed the first one. Vizicsacsi comes in. Death Sentence finds Xerxe. He's rooted by a Flourish. Bouncing Grenade, and Prophet kills Xerxe. But HeaQ flashed for that. Will that come back to haunt him?
And bear in mind now, jungler is dead once more. This is the point at which NIP snowballed game 1, and now they're looking to do game 2 as Exileh.
All right, Exileh finds Nagne. He's used the Rift Walk already. Flash is available to him. Hylissang's coming around. Teleport is up for Chachi, but the heroic entrance is not.
Things are looking very tense. NIP, they're going to commit to the Baron, but this is not going down super quick. They're going to choose to disengage.
5 versus 4. Hook onto Shook. He's not in trouble yet. Death Sentence will knock down Hylissang. Samux's exhaust, his spray and pray is destroying NIP. Exileh's going to try chase down Nagne. Riftwalk's going to be available. Dashes forward, throws down the Force Pulse as well. Vizicsacsi flashes in for the taunt. HeaQ's looking for the crits. Samux takes a lot of damage under the tower. 1, 2 shots. Not enough yet. Curtain calls on cooldown. Shook's looking for the re-engage. Void Rush is available to him. He's already tagged Chachi. Does he decide to burrow under? HeaQ's got that 4th and final shot. Not going to find the targets. And Unicorns fend off NIP.
2-for-2 trade overall, as Xerxe. He's just trying to get a bit more vision down around the Baron. Very tense fight. You can see how hesitant NIP were to commit to that Baron because they realized how slow, in fact, it actually was. They didn't have the 3 items like they did in game 1, and so they just wanted to disengage. And Hylissang, he died very quickly, but a lot of resources were invested, and Samux was just free to hit onto multiple members who just lined up for him to slaughter through them, allowing Exileh to get himself a double kill and continue the return of this Kassadin back into the game. Love the flash taunt here from Chachi, as the fight apparently is looking to continue.
Well, not going to be anything other than a little poke onto Vizicsacsi. By the way, continues to stack that armor, got himself another chain vest to go along with his 9 stacks on that cursed seal. Exileh the same, by the way. Got himself the Codex as well as a Null Magic Mantle. And Samux, first step towards that Infinity Edge. Got himself a BF Sword. Let's look at damage dealt to champions this game.
It's a lot of damage from Galio. Hook does land.
He's been involved in 8 of his team's 9 kills.
Yep. But you can also see how much more relevant this Kassadin is becoming as the game progresses. NIP, they didn't hold on to that same sort of early game lead like they did in game 1. And because they tried to go for a few picks onto Hylissang, it meant that UOL were finding these fights and picks of their own and gradually working their way back into the game.
And Vedius, do you remember about 13 minutes ago I told the story of the wise turtle?
Yes.
And his advice for Exileh? Exileh took the advice.
He did.
He's only given up 1 additional death since then. And it was not... It was excusable.
It was.
That's what I'll say. And Unicorns of Love, even though they're 1,000 gold down, you have to feel like they are dictating the tempo of the game. They're somewhat in control, reacting to NIP. And they've got pretty good vision, once again, along the river and just inside the red buff of NIP's jungle.
Yeah. Here comes the hook.
All right, Hylissang, where's the rocket grab? Looking for a target, manages to fight HeaQ. Hero's entrance. That's another for Samux and UOL. A 3rd is secured as Prophet puts down the Dominus. He will get shut down by Vizicsacsi. Unicorns are looking for the ace. Rocket grab onto Nagne.
He shoots, he scores. UOL get themselves the ace, and they're gonna get the base as NIP fall. 5 men dead to the Unicorns of Love.
The base is the target. The minion wave makes its way in. Inhibitor turret falls. The inhibitor will as well. And with 30+ second death timers on a few members of NIP, Unicorns are just going to back away and try to take the Baron as well.
They're rushing straight towards it because they know Prophet. He has no teleport available. HeaQ has only just respawned, and they should be able to get themselves this objective. The big team fight power the Unicorns of Love are so well known for finally comes through as they obliterate the ninjas in pajamas and reclaim control over game 2.
This is so exciting with Baron and a gold lead and such a powerful late game comp from Unicorns of Love. You have to feel this is going to a trilogy.
So keep your eyes on HeaQ, because he should be outside of the fight, but because of a great hook from Hylissang, he get dragged into the knocker. The spray and brave from Samux eviscerates him, and without the main damage dealer available, it makes it super easy. And another great hook from Hylissang. I personally am still not a massive fan of the Blitzcrank pick, but he is making it work as we reach the 30-minute mark.
Well, silencing at least some of the critics this game, found multiple picks. By the way, boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Here comes Profit and Ninjas in Pyjamas. They've killed Samux. Hero's entrance comes up from Vizicsacsi as Xerxe leaps to safety. Xerxe's going to be the target. The rest of UOL, they're still engaging. This is a 4-on-5, and UOL might be winning. Curtain Call is fired down the mid lane as Berlin erupts with Unicorn's loves. They turn it around. Sprattel is the target. Flash engage with the Force Pulse. And Exileh gets himself a solo kill there onto HeaQ. The rest of the team in backup. Xerxe and Chachi clean up the fight. That's 4 dead ninjas.
You may have shut down Samux, but you did not shut down the Unicorns. 4 members of dead. Hylissang is looking to make it 5 with only the Nexus left. Unicorns of Love are looking to bring us to game 3.
The Nexus turrets are taken down. Nagne's the focus. He's shut down for the ace. And the Unicorns of Love bounce back to tie up the series.
Explosive ending to that game 2. And a beautiful set of hooks from Hylissang. Definitely making up for him getting caught out of position. And really just demonstrating the differences between game 1 and game 2, where NIP, they still got those same early leads, but they just couldn't hold on to them.
No, not this time round. Exileh's Kassadin, once activated, once that Lich Bane was completed, just became too problematic for the Ninjas in Pyjamas. But I do have to give kudos again to HeaQ. Game 1 and game 2, the right target, the right lane, the right execution to give his team multiple 1,000 gold leads. And you can see Nico the Pico on screen. He's definitely had a few emotive reactions this split, and definitely giving a stern discussion to his team.
Well, after getting such a convincing early game, you'd expect a similar fashion or similar result. But it does seem that with the change-up with the Exile on the Kassadin in the mid lane, they always had that late game condition. And they didn't really need to get to super late game because they found a bunch of picks onto NIP. NIP were just a little too overzealous with a lot of their plays. And they just gave a lot of windows for the Unicorns of Love to gradually claw their gold lead back and eventually turn it into a win.
I mean, that was a 30-minute victory. Like, when you actually think about the average game time, that's several minutes longer than that, usually. And NIP were down, NIP were up 4,000 gold to lose by a few thousand gold. Anyways, Unicorns of Love, they managed to tie the series here in game 2. Let's find out what our analysts think about exactly how they bounce back.
Thank you, QuickShot. Well, what do you guys think? Oh, yeah, just kidding.
I mean, we can start with that open playing field of, I guess if we want to start, NIP actually, like, starting the game looked great.
Yeah, they looked great, just like game 1. Put all the pressure down on the map.
And that feels really weird to say, because NIP have struggled for a while. They've had good, consistent early games, but never have they been crushing their opponents like they have in this series. And I think that's a testament to clearly some of the improvements they've been making, focusing on getting HeaQ, specifically this game into the middle lane. That's got to feel bad when you Kassadin, when Rek'Sai comes in at like level 3.
Yeah, after the first game, when you burn flash level 2, it's just, it feels bad, man. There's not much to do after that. Like, it was Thresh coming in after that, flashing, exhausting you, then you kind of give up at this point, and top lane is not going so well either, but...
he was really trolling here. Like, previous to this, he got TP advantage, like he traded really well with Chachi towards the Renekton, and then he got a base for free where Renekton TP'd back. And then he was like super greedy afterwards, where like, you can see he has TP up here, he could base and TP back to lane, and it would be super one from him, but yeah.
Yeah, that's what you talk about often with Vizicsacsi, is the fact that when he sees the kill, he doesn't care if he dies, if he can still get the kill, and I believe that's probably what happened here. He thought he could still get the return.
Maybe a bit of disrespect, I don't know, like, he does this often, as you say. I think it's a Vizicsacsi special.
He does this often, and he was MVP of the split, so I guess we can't fault him too much for that, but we can in this game. NIP, fantastic start against Samux, and then we have... Last time, Galio, you didn't agree that it was a Kassadin, or an Exile champion, rather. Kassadin, though, definitely an Exile champion.
Yeah,
do you agree?
Definitely an Exile champ. Didn't go so well in the game, though. I think the game should have been pretty much over, but I think we have the replay of that, what happened. What pretty much lost the game as well, so it was a bit of a a troll incident, I would call it. As a lot of solo queue players would probably have raged a bit at their top laner taking that lantern. And
because Prophet was doing so well before this, and this is where you guys said if we pull up the replay, in this moment he kind of started throwing it away for his team. Why is that? What does he do so wrong in this replay? It's going to come up in just a second. Once Fabian, let's go with his hair.
The biggest problem is that Jhin would have such a good position if he actually gets to take the lantern, but now he's just stuck in the middle of everything. He can't flash anywhere. He gets getting flanked by Kassadin, and Prophet even takes the lantern and flashes back in, so I assume it must be a misclick. Like, there's...
Yeah, I think that's giving the benefit of the doubt.
Like the Maxwell play, it must be a misclick.
Was that a misclick?
No, that
the jury's
was,
out.
So I think, Yamato said that on the Maxwell one, it was a W instead of an E. He was meant to say. Anyway, that was yesterday.
So,
about this one, it's not a click, is it?
Yeah.
Does it count? I don't know. Anyway, on this one, really unfortunate misclick, because I think HeaQ was like strong enough at this point to actually help out with shutting down some of the damage in team fights. And at that point, HeaQ no survivability, some of the damage in team fights. And at that point, HeaQ no survivability, no way to stay alive, just means they kind of fall apart.
But Wonder, did you see the play as a Renekton that was quite fed as a Prophet? Did you see what he saw?
I'm not sure if I saw what he saw, but I mean, he must have right-clicked, and then like the lantern came, and then I don't know. It's a bit unlucky, and he kind of threw the lead away, because after Kassadin gets 2 kills like that, then it gets really rough, and Jhin is never really safe in a fight, and he even mispositioned a bit after that as well. So it was just a lot of bad things happening that snowballed into a game that should have been won that was lost instead. So.
And once again, in the series versus G2, Unicorns of Love, they lost the game, and Exileh didn't have a good series at all. Then he picked Kassadin in the last game and did really well. So Samux, is Exileh just a really good Kassadin, or is any Kassadin at 25 minutes past with a semi-decent team-fighting team gonna be good and win you the game? With a semi-decent team-fighting team gonna be good and win you the game?
I'm not sure, like... This game, I would not call him a really good Kassadin, because... I would not call him a really bad one either, because he was 0-4-0. That's just what happens when actually teams know how to punish Kassadin, and they actually did it really well this game. I mean, NIP punished them really well, but in general, I just felt like it was NIP's game to lose in a way, and when you give overkills to Twitch and Kassadin, the lead is gonna shift really fast, really heavily towards the other side. So in general, it's just one bad fight, I think, kind of snowballed the whole game, and it just tunneled into a lot of fights where Kassadin and Twitch just gets more and more fit.
Yeah, Stress and Unicorns of Love are particularly a team that when it starts to shift, they'll take it entirely and run it down your base.
Right, especially like with a pick like the Blitzcrank for Hylissang, where he's just charging forward. Doesn't even matter that he gets hooked. Somehow, just there comes the damage reduction through. And at this point, HeaQ's dead in the middle of the fight once again. Can't survive. He didn't have his summoners available. And from there, Unicorns just continue to walk through the fight. Exileh with his Kassadin, high mobility, high damage. Chachi's there to just taunt everybody up, and Unicorns win another convincing team fight.
I wonder, is a Galio a pick that's quite forgiven if you don't do that well early in the game? He gets killed a couple of times, but he seems pretty unkillable also in the end.
Yeah, I mean, like tanks in general, you don't really have to snowball, and
or do well.
you don't really have to get a lot of resources either. You still become this tank, but I also think like a lot of it is due to NIP just having bad team fights, just mispositioning in team fights, not really being able to dish out damage because they were caught, and they have to focus Twitch and Kassadin, otherwise they will just lose the fight instantly.
I was pointing at the gold swing.
Oh, okay, yeah, massive gold swing. Sorry, I thought you were telling me that Samux had something.
No, I was looking at the gold swing because that is massive.
Okay, so what I was looking at was the Twitch's death numbers, because in game 1 they picked off Samux a whole lot. Samux this time survived through the fights, and what I was going to talk about with the Galio is you get so much value in just pressing R on a champion. You don't have to win the lane, you don't have to be ahead, you get the same amount of value. That damage reduction keeps them alive. Then in one big amount of crowd control in a fight, suddenly it doesn't matter what the laning phase did if you're Twitch and your Kassadin are able to turn the game around.
And that is what Unicorns of Love did. They cleaned it up and they turned it around. So looking at the final game now, Samux, is this Unicorns of Love that is now unleashed?
I think, honestly, I think this game Nip played really well. I felt like that one misclick, like, kind of made it a BG for them. And I think that they still have a really good chance. Like, after these 2 first games, I'm more impressed with by NIP than I am by UOL.
Well, Wonder was saying the same thing. NIP is kind of a bit undervalued because they should be able to play like this, and you'd seen it in them before.
Yeah, I think like in general, when people play against Unicorns, it's really hard to punish them, and they have a really hard time snowballing their leads. So they end up like going into, especially when we played against them, we played like these late game comps where we could challenge them in the later parts of the game. But I think HeaQ and especially like their solo laners have done a really good job these games, like setting up kills for their jungler and making sure they can snowball the game. So I think that's what they do really well.
They did it in this game, although it wasn't enough to pull it through till the end. The Unicorns of Love turn it around, lightning round. NIP or UOL?
UOL.
NIP.
NIP.
Whoa, 2 NIP,
Wow.
1 Unicorns of Love. We'll see what happens. Coming up.
Unicorns, that's all it is.
Best for our group.
Yeah. Oh, I see through it now. Anyway, coming up next, Unicorns of Love and Ninjas in Pyjamas hit the rift for the final battle in this thrilling series. You won't want to miss it.